Yeah, okay, let's go. 1812.
I missed
Oh,
that.
can I rate it?
Oh, sorry.
No, you said you didn't wanna. Now we're moving on.
I never even said that.
Oh no, I said that.
I'll at least I'll match Simon and give it a 2. Like, it just wasn't.
Hit that agreement button, Matt.
Oh, that's a 3-man agreement button only.
Oh, I see. We should have a 2-man agreement.
Yeah, 2-man agreement.
It can just be agreement.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
So clip that up.
That's
send it to
easy.
us.
That's easy.
Yeah. He says, knowing that he's not going to do it.
Is there a button for when you just agree with yourself?
Oh, that's good too.
Stroke it, stroke it, stroke it, stroke it.
I like all of those
So you match
ideas.
assignment 2, and we are off. 1812, Doug Stanhope. Second time since COVID. And
Yeah. So that first episode, was it during Sober October or something? Like what?
No.
It was obviously some sort of train wreck, but I don't remember it at all.
Well, we reviewed it.
Well, I know, Kamar, but I don't remember last week. So
Touche.
He may have gotten COVID at that podcast. Because with the beginning, he just found out he has had COVID.
he has the antibodies.
Yeah.
Who knows when the fuck he got COVID?
He doesn't.
The guy invites random people over to watch the Super Bowl.
But could it be because he was a smoker? He got through. That old wives' tale.
Maybe. Maybe weed helps too. Like, who fucking knows? I'm sure they're not doing any studies on that.
But in this episode, I really heard that like Joe loves Doug Stanhope and will spend millions of dollars to keep him alive. Like,
Oh, yeah.
If he has to do Rolling Stones shit at some point, adrenochrome, whatever. Like
He's going to work Weekend at Bernie's, this guy, right, until the year 2050.
I
No.
just think he's pushing
Yeah?
him so hard to
2050,
move to
yeah.
Austin because he just wants to be able to know he's like he loves
Joe
Doug
wants to
Stanhope.
find the body. That's what it feels like.
They have such an awkward, like, I don't know if it's Stanhope's, like, low self-esteem or if it's Joe's, like, inability to read the situation properly.
No, it's
but
100% Doug's self-esteem, which he has none.
No.
He's like a tell, like they're all like.
I know, but-
he's more. He had more humility than Brenda Schaub sitting there.
Yes,
As
listen.
comics.
Yeah.
Joe, instead of like putting on this big show to show, just say, dude, I love you. You know what I mean? Like it got so weird
No,
at points.
No, he got so drunk.
Okay, sure, whatever.
They got wasted.
Yeah, I think you're forgetting.
Well, I
that.
don't remember. Now I do remember the last time he was on, and it was the same kind of thing. And Joe was trying to like placate him and show him how much he loves it, and it just like it came off as weird.
What I realize is I listen to Stanhope's, like not religiously, but on that he is so good at not acting like he doesn't give a fuck. But on Joe, he cares too much.
Yeah.
Like,
He cares too
The
much.
gravitas of the platform freaks him out. Just like when Joe said, "Come do an arena, 15 minutes," which would be. He doesn't have to realize if you were there and they didn't tell you, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna have Tony Hinchcliffe's coming up. Then we have a special guest, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Stanhope." People would lose their mind.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even get the like. I don't know. He wants to not evolve. You know, he's a bit of a curmudgeon.
Like remember the character he played on Louis' show?
Himself. Yeah.
That was like great television, but really hard to watch.
Oh,
That was a tough episode. Yeah.
it's like the movie.
I just feel that was a lot like him. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
like the movie he sort of promoted is going to be him.
Oh yeah.
It's a wash-up comic like him exactly.
And that's coming out soon. Is that?
I've tried to look on it, but I heard about it when he was talking to Greg Fitzsimmons, which they were talking about the movie. It goes Fitzsimmons, and they started talking about Michael Biehn for like 5 minutes, his neighbor, to say, and then we didn't have a script supervisor, so he was out, and then I got Bobcat. And then they go off on Bobcat and Bigfoot.
And he's out.
It was just, it just started, and we're guilty of that.
So him and Fitzsimmons,
Fitzsimmons.
sorry.
Fitzgibbons is his co-host.
What?
Fitzgibbons is his.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just Gibbons.
Gibbons. Yeah. Anyways,
You just had a collective stroke.
Yeah.
was that like a better conversation? Because he doesn't like,
Was
he must be
absolutely.
intimidated by
Absolutely.
Joe. That's what
It
I
feels
mean.
like-
And it's
you know
like,
the
that's
feel-
not a real friend.
This is a problem. I think I've said it before, but the original podcast is just two people in a room
Yeah.
Just have this convo. And that's what a lot of them are like. But this one feels like you're on a stage and it's detrimental.
It's just for some people, you're right. The gravitas of the situation is
Well, I think
just
it's
too
the same way
much.
he doesn't want to play the same way he doesn't want to play a stadium. He doesn't want to really like. Doug is fine if his podcast gets like, you know.
Yeah, he just wants to be Doug.
And I love him. Like, don't get me
Yes,
wrong.
of course
I
I
have
love
not
him.
like amazing comedian. He's great when he's telling stories.
At the end, I'm sure Joe is like giving him eyes. He starts talking shit about people. Like he was going to Chelsea Handler. He was, I was like, I hate Sebastian. I'll go it. Some in jest, some in whatever. But it's like again.
Why was Joe sticking up for Chelsea Handler though?
No, do you hear Joe? Joe doesn't even talk bad about Carlos Mencia. If you notice that, there's not many people.
He doesn't
Joe
talk bad about anybody.
Bad mouths.
Yeah. Except for Bernie, or not Bernie. Weekend at Bernie's, the president.
But
Oh,
no.
What's his name?
We're going to talk
Joe
about
Biden. Yeah.
in the next episode.
Sorry.
But he did admit that he was taking mushrooms every day that week, like when he was at the height of being canceled.
Well, that was probably a really good way to deal with it.
Which I thought about in this episode. Joe has a room with all the drugs. He never.
I assume he has the Hunter S. Thompson briefcase.
He never has because he said we should do TMT tonight, meaning I have it. Not if you said I want to do DMT, I said I'll try to call a guy maybe next Tuesday.
Well,
First of all,
Joe
he's Joe
said,
Rogan.
Joe said when he first bought DMT, it came with enough DMT to like let the whole world trip. That's how they used to in giant jars. He must still have that left.
but he never isn't scrounging for a doob.
Of course not. He's worth $100 million.
It was apparent.
It was apparent.
You know what though? Speaking of Joe and handling that situation, like that really just shows you though what a fucking balanced guy he really is. Cause it would be so easy for him to, I know he talks trash about CNN and whatever
Even
sometimes,
then
but he could like, you know what I mean? He could have gone a totally different way with that. And instead he looked inside and found the things that were wrong with him to change. Like nobody does that.
Love the
man.
Joe.
Not when you're this fucking popular. Name me another person who would do that. Do I sound weird all of a sudden?
No? Sound like your normal nasally Jewy self.
Praise
there you
for
go.
Joe.
There you go.
But he always says
Has to resort to the anti-Semitism.
he always says he
the lowest form of comedy. It's okay, Matt. That's where you got to go.
he
I'm so sorry.
he says he never I don't know what I do. Like we just talked, and this proves it. If he actually thought it'd be a good idea for them to get as wasted as they did, and it would turn out better, and he knew because Doug said he cried after the last episode, but I don't think we thought it was a train wreck.
He didn't just cry.
He said he cried.
No, but it was more than that. He
not even
walked
gonna
off
drive
on his
me home.
own, and Joe's security had to pull up on the side of the road, like
What?
Mr. Stanhope, Mr. Stanhope.
I missed that whole
Did you?
part. Yeah, I didn't hear any
Oh,
of that.
Doug said he
Yes.
left so sad and disheveled. He was like some random guy. He didn't. This is the craziest thing about Doug. He didn't even know it was Joe's security. He just
thought some
he just
stranger
got in the
was
car with
Bobo.
some stranger. Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious. So yeah, he was really fucked up after that last episode. I didn't realize it was so bad.
Well, I also didn't realize that Bingo was in a coma the night of the second.
Oh no, we knew that.
Oh, did
Yeah. We've talked about that.
No, I think
yeah.
he said that in the first episode. Maybe
He mentioned it.
not the first, but the last one. He was on.
But and then he also said all that getting caught with a hooker, having sex with a hooker or a stripper on the boat by Bingo, her having a thing shut him down or for the better. That was enough for him to say, "Well, I gotta calm down, stop having all the crazy parties." I mean, he's still an alcoholic, but
Joe doesn't like Bingo. You think?
I don't know.
why she would not be on?
No, sometimes when he says something about her, I get
feel
this
like
distinct impression.
I feel
that-
like a female with colorful hair named Bingo is probably gonna across the board hate Joe Rogan, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just going off of enunciation.
Okay, sure.
I don't think I could listen to a podcast with Bingo. Maybe I could. I should say that. But
I don't. I've never seen her. I've never heard her. Has she been on Rogan before?
No.
No,
I think she was
does-
there once with
she does
him.
Stanhope, so
though.
that's possible.
Really? Like
I'm
back
pretty
in the
sure
day, like
she
on
was
the
there
couch?
once with him, and they like run a mic over to her for a second
Hmm.
or something.
I gotta say, watching this, like I watched a bit of this episode, and holy fuck, I've never been happier that I quit smoking and drinking. Like I know I still smoke weed in this fucking stupid thing, but he looks. I mean, he looks every day of 65.
And he's 55, and he's now a senior.
That's my point.
No, and he's now has, I realize, senior citizen discounts, which I will be eligible for in 7 years.
Oh my god.
Make that.
They offer it to me all
That's
the
depressing.
time at Value Village.
Oh dear, that's even worse.
Really?
Yeah, and I say no, but I should just say yes. It's because of the mask, and gray is all they can see. Or sorry, Kumar, white is all they can see coming out of the sides. It's a perfect scam.
The oldest I get is 37.
The oldest I get is 37.
Someone doesn't know me,
I mean, I told you, I still get ID'd here and there. But I look like fucking...
but I've decided now
You have a baby face.
I'm going to
And
start
you're
saying
only like, you're not too tall, you know what I mean? So they just...
I'm going to start saying I'm 55 now, so people think I look even better.
That's one step above anti-Semitism, by the way, Matt.
Yeah. I
In
get it.
humor
Height,
value, yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, the old height jab. Even though we're the same height, it's the best part about the joke.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah, Kamara. Oh, I had something good there. It's
Sorry,
gone.
sorry,
It's
my
gone.
bad.
It's okay.
They talked about abortion, and all I'll say about the abortion thing is it's, again, not what it seems. It's being put out, like, it'll just go to states, and some states won't have strict abortion laws, and some won't. Well, like, it's
That's
not up to me.
It is
I
a little more than that.
No,
Kamara.
you're right, Kamar, about one thing. It's not up to you.
I'm telling you,
That's true.
I think people should be allowed to have abortions. I don't think abortions are a good thing. That's my position.
Well, I don't think anyone goes and has an abortion gleefully. If
The liberals of TikTok are showing people like celebrating it.
Remember,
Like,
too, Kamar,
the extremes,
they're
it's extreme.
picking.
Okay, yeah.
Libs of TikTok is picking out the
the
most egregious
weirdest
of the internet.
stabbers
you know?
of Dave Chappelle. That's who
just
it's
too
fucking.
much. I just think it should be like discussed in some sort of sacred respect.
Kamar, it's a big deal because the Supreme Court is overturning its own like 50 or 60-year-old rule just because there's conservatives sitting there. It seems, I don't know. It also seems weird. Like, why even have the Supreme Court if they can decide something and then like 10 years later? I mean, I guess that's
I mean,
a good
shouldn't
thing.
things change though? What if it's a really bad law? Like, what
Yeah.
if it was the other way around and they were trying to change it back? Like, we'd all be
Yeah,
arguing
I guess,
differently.
sure, but-
and I'm not. Look, my position. I won't tell it to you, but like, I'm sure it's more liberal than not. You know.
Yeah. I don't know.
And there's also that this is somehow leaked. They don't ever overturn it. This was just leaked. Nothing.
It could just be to be like causing news so that we're not looking at Ukraine or
no,
something.
so people
you
will
know?
vote for Democrats.
Sure, I don't know. I don't.
Listen, I agree. Nothing's happened yet, but you know, it's obviously newsworthy if it does happen.
But I've made my position clear, and
I mean,
don't-
listen,
it's not
Matt,
controversial.
seriously, I'm being totally serious here. If they were trying to take the collective people's mind off of something,
Yeah, of course, this is a great way to do it.
What
Yeah.
a great way. You do it as a leak, and it never even has to come to fruition, and it's taken up the news cycle for 2-3 weeks.
That's the last 4 years with Trump.
I mean, let's keep in mind,
Trump was a real person doing
but none
real
of those
things.
came to fruition. The accusations.
You know
leaks.
what? If Trump hadn't have been such a fucking
Douche.
arrogant douchebag, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's all I've ever said.
Nobody has a problem with what he did when you really look at it. They have a problem with him.
preaching to the choir.
So you have a fucking bad leader.
Hold on, I have a problem with First of all, he lied on his taxes.
Okay,
a lot.
listen, I spoke too quickly there. Point is, not everything he did was so bad. Joe
sure.
said it perfectly. I don't know what episode it was in, but this whole anti-Trump thing has made it so that another group can like get through shitty ideas just because they're anti what this guy thinks. That is not how people should make decisions. Like at all, obviously.
Of course not.
The worst of two evils? Like, come on. Anyways.
what they always do.
Well, the problem is, Simon, is like I used this analogy the other day. It's like you could be at let's say you're at a rally for something that you care about, and there's 100,000,
A
10,000.
Bigfoot rally.
Sure. Okay. So there's 10,000 Bigfoot supporters there. Those people don't represent you in any other way than you guys all support Bigfoot.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, you could rub arms with some fucking terrible people down there. Like, I use the example of 420. Like, if you go down to 420, which I don't, but let's say you did, like, everyone there is just, hurrah, weed. But there's some seriously undesirable people down there. Like,
some of those people are, hurrah, weed, because I can spike it and date rape.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Why not go there?
I mean, if we're going to go, Matt,
let's
we're going
keep
to
the
go
date
all
rape
the
train
way.
rolling. Yeah. Let's keep. This is a theme lately. No, but I don't know. We're at a weird place. We're at a terrible place.
We're at a terrible place
right now.
And you know what? There has to be some better options put on the table.
I mean, it's funny. I saw these memes this week. If only the Democrats fought Roe v. Wade the way they fought against Bernie.
You know what? Like, at this point, and I'm being so serious, a fucking Oprah might be the best thing for the world. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's going to do it.
It won't be Oprah. I'm just saying somebody who is like, look, he was on the right track, Trump, with the idea of shaking things up and doing things differently. Not that that panned out at all, but the draining the swamp. If it had been like a righteous person saying drain the swamp, that's a great fucking plan. Let's drain the swamp.
If it had been someone that you actually thought was going to drain the swamp, yes.
Matt, this is what I'm
yeah.
saying. If it was a righteous person, name the person you think is deserving to be president right now. If that person was telling you, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to get rid of the fucking rubbish, and we're going to do this thing properly. Like,
but it felt like Bernie was saying that.
No, Bernie was too like...
Yeah, but he didn't say that. He wasn't aggressive or abrasive. He was like, we got to make changes. Like, think about it. We have to tax Wall Street. That's draining the swamp. One swamp at least.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, you're absolutely right. Bernie wasn't the guy.
Well, clearly not.
First of all, he's a giant sellout. And secondly, like, he didn't have the voice or the oomph to call them out at the moment on their bullshit of trying to fucking rig it.
Thank God Doug doesn't like politics because they didn't talk
Doug
about
Ford?
any of this. No, Doug Stanhope. Well, that's what goes to show that came off talk about because they talked about abortion.
What do you mean? He talks about politics. Doug Stanhope
doesn't. Did he? Does he say he doesn't? I'm sure he doesn't like Trump, but he doesn't say it. Like, he doesn't shit on Trump, or I haven't seen him.
Well, but he has bits about, obviously.
But he doesn't
like,
talk about like he knows about
Okay,
the conversation.
Gotcha.
But they were talking about life before the internet. And are you guys finding it's harder to remember what experiences you had when there was an internet to when there wasn't, and just what you did before it?
Yeah, but that's a weird...
Like, it doesn't exist, obviously.
What did you do before the car? Like, that would have been a huge shift too, right? Before electricity, before... There's always a before.
Yeah, but I'm also saying, he's saying it's hard to remember. That's also because we're getting old, and the time has...
But as Joe said, it's accelerating.
Well, yeah, not social media, but whatever, everything online makes it really easy to forget what came before. Like...
The first year of the internet, I remembered what life was before the internet a lot. I didn't think that it would change so much, obviously, or I would have thought of something and become a billionaire. But I'm losing that when it happened. And that was why I found last night we were hanging out with an old buddy from high school. Just old stories, all before the internet.
Just because...
All before phones.
Just because we're here now, you know, we took a fork. Maybe when the Higgs boson, like we were saying, Matt, God particle, we shift off, and all of a sudden the internet, let's just call it that, becomes the most important thing about civilization. That doesn't mean that, like, that was the only way it could have gone. And also, it's not necessarily the right way it should have gone.
It's just the way.
Which I was telling Matt and a friend of ours last night that we sleep a large, I mean, he's maybe not half of our lives, but a large portion of our lives are spent totally dead to the world, sleeping.
Yeah, 8 hours, or hopefully.
And in our path where we took to get to where we are today, there is no, like, nobody is trying to maximize. I mean, some people are, but it's not very common to maximize your sleep with like lucid dreaming or, maybe living a different life.
You
while
try to
you're
say
sleeping.
be productive while you're sleeping.
No, what I'm saying is maybe there was either a time in the past when people actually did that, or maybe we've just missed that crossroads where, but that could make life so different than it is
But
today.
that's like,
you wouldn't need the internet, Matt, I guess. That's what just came to me, because it's like the Matrix every night when you go to sleep. Because
Why you still need but again, we use the internet for everything.
You wouldn't need so much of this metaverse that's coming, because you would have it inside
that's glass
you.
half empty. Like it could have been better, but it is what it is.
Well, it just isn't what it is now. So at some point, we split.
Like I've said, someone living right now, it is the best. The way stuff has gone is like
there's people fucking thriving,
rich and like loving life.
I don't think there's
amazing.
anybody who couldn't benefit from having the fucking Matrix every time you go to sleep.
No, I agree.
And then
I
if
agree.
somehow you could translate what you learned while you were sleeping to this reality, like, you know how they say we only use whatever 10% of our brain or whatever it is? We could be maximizing, like, maybe living like that in the dream world would make us 20%, 30% better in
here's
this
a conundrum.
world.
What if the only person who can accomplish this is Elon Musk and his
Neuralink?
Neuralink?
I don't think we need him.
Okay, well, but he seems to be the
That's-
closest area of
You know
you're
what
talking
Elon
about.
Musk is? He'll give you the shortcut to get there by putting it in your neck. But there are people who can lucid dream.
And they should be under our employment to change
Well,
the world.
we should be studying them like crazy to find out the natural way to make this as simple as possible for the masses to do. Nobody would have to meditate anymore. You wouldn't have to waste any time in this world doing the shit that like you could just be doing at night,
You have a lot of old
where you
magazines.
could fly.
Eh? You got a lot of old magazines, eh?
Old mag? No,
You
I
don't?
Zero.
It seemed like your family would have.
I used to have a lot of magazines, but I've purged many a time.
Because Doug was talking about he goes on the plane with a 1976 Time and just reads it like. What
dude.
if
In
someone-
his leisure
the way
suit,
he's
people must
dressed-
look at him and just be
the
like,
way
"Yeah."
he's dressed, you think like you just traveled time. Like,
They must think
going
he's
on
a
here?
time
what I'm
traveler.
saying, yeah.
Like,
Why is there no smoking sign on planes means somewhere you can't smoke? They were talking about it because I noticed I was just on the plane and they're like, no smoking sign, but I know I can't smoke when it's not on. Like no matter what, you can't smoke on a plane, but somewhere you must be able to, or they take that out. Don't you think?
No, it's just a constant reminder.
No.
No one
it's-
knows. that
I've
you
been
can't
on-
smoke on a
They-
fucking plane.
I've been on a plane where someone smoked.
yeah, and people smoke joints in bathrooms of planes, and they get fined tens of
Well,
thousands of
they had a no
dollars.
smoking sign and they did it anyway. So
What's that?
it's not a
What's that
deterrent.
comedy bit? If there's a sign that says "Don't do it," it means somebody has done it.
But Kamar, you also got to
think
realize,
it's a
without the sign, someone is going to fire up a cigarette and say, "Well, there was no
There's
sign
no
saying
sign.
I
Yeah,
couldn't do it." So,
exactly.
And the court of common sense will say, "Well, you're retarded."
well, again,
No, I mean
Kamar,
the court of the law would probably say you're in the right because there's nobody who said don't do it.
Kamar, there's also seatbelts on the seats, but there's also a sign saying, "Wear the seatbelt."
And you know you want to wear the seatbelt because if it drops 30 feet, you'll smack into the. No, people don't even have that common sense.
No, most people ride the plane without their seatbelt on.
I love how you're talking about common sense.
It isn't even because they say you can take your seatbelt off at certain points, but I guess they know when they're going back into turbulence to put it back.
They
on.
say, though, after takeoff, you can take it off, but they highly suggest that you keep it on.
And you don't have really any place to go. You can have it a bit looser, but that might be a bad idea. Let's hope we don't crash the plane.
You know
I mean,
what?
it's-
I don't have these problems.
It's a funny flex,
Yes.
though, Kamar, because then there's guys in, like, overnight business class that just have a bed. It's like they're not fucking wearing a seatbelt.
I would love to see Simon his first time on the plane, and they put you. There's people at the seat with the emergency exit doors.
Yeah.
And then she comes up to them and goes, "Hey guys, how's it going? Just know you're in the seat with the emergency exit door. Just want to make sure. Would you guys be comfortable? Smash the glass and pull it to the side. Get me off the plate. Get me off the plate.
Dude, if they give me
Are you
that
interested in
hammer,
being a
I
hero?
won't be
'cause first of
responsible
all-
for what I do.
First of all, they always
Pull
say
out the slide.
they always say, "Are you comfortable doing this?" And if you're like, "No, I'm not," they'll
Yeah.
just switch your
Hey,
seats
if
with
there's
someone else.
any sort of emergency where that door needs to be open, you're probably all dead anyways. So don't worry about it.
What you're also missing, Simon, because you don't fly, is that if you're in that seat, you have extra leg room.
Yeah, it's a bit wide.
Well, I'd say, move me, but I'll only be moved to first class. Otherwise, I'm not moving and I'm not taking care of the door. What's going to happen?
I got punked.
Air marshal?
I got punked once, I think, coming back from Australia. She came up to me and said, there's an old woman who needs your chair. And I was like, yeah, of course. Thinking, and we got a spot for first class for your kindness.
No, never.
No, it was up to the front of the wall. A jumbo jet. Oh, you don't know. You don't know.
I know.
There's first class, then there's coach or whatever.
Economy,
There's
yeah.
wall and another because there's bathrooms there and there. Right up against the wall, like my knees touching it, and there's a screen just there. Like
I would have said, why didn't you say
worst
I'm not doing this? I changed my mind, put me in first class.
I'm a hero.
Or
man.
get rid of the old
Heroes are
lady.
gonna
I'm a
hero.
hero, man.
Couldn't pay me
Well,
enough.
that old lady had a great flight. Joe talked about his worst bombing in front of Jim Brewer, and he's saying, I was 3 years in and I didn't even have 25 minutes. And I think Brendan Schaub could take something from that. Like looking
we're
back
back-
at those
we're back
stories
on
and
Schaub.
see where that's happening. Well,
I listen,
he's not mentioned at all. Like,
Schaub,
did you see Schaub's new special? Yeah, that guy's doing stuff.
if he has
comedians.
fans that want to pay to see him and he's making money
Absolutely.
and he can sell thick boy shit, fucking all the power
All the
to
power,
that
all the
guy.
power.
Like, for real though, all the power. Make your money. You know what I'm saying? But like Joe, it's Joe's responsibility now to pick who he's gonna like comedically stand behind.
Mm-hmm.
He can be friends with Brendan. He can wish him as well as anybody. But like, if you're gonna put your name, take him on tour with you. There you go.
Well, let's see if he plays the mothership,
And
and
if-
then we'll know.
Well, he will
He
for
will,
sure.
he will.
That place is gonna be open to everyone.
If
I don't think so. I
You don't think so?
You didn't listen to the H3H, obviously, did you?
I didn't. It's written on my hand.
I know. I
but
watched
have
you. I
not.
watched you
If-
write it on your
It
hand.
was Mother's Day this morning. I didn't
ahead,
get to bed
Kumar.
until like 4 o'clock last night.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
I got
No,
home. I was
if-
so hungry. We had I'm sorry, Kumar. We had nothing. We had nothing to eat in the house.
Yeah.
The only thing we had was a fucking frozen garlic bread.
Yeah.
It took like 45 minutes to make.
You were like asleep at my house.
Oh, I should have gone to McDonald's on the way home. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's right there.
It's so dumb.
It's right there.
I don't know why when it's like 2
You know
seconds
why?
from my house.
Because that McDonald's fucking
I know, but at
sucks.
1 o'clock in the morning, I'd breeze right through there. They'd still make me wait. Pull over, please.
Yeah, they would. They
Sorry,
do.
Kumar, go.
If Brendan Schaub's special was special, Joe would be talking about it throughout the week.
Yes.
Like, wow, he's come so far, like, unbelievable.
But Joey fucking gave him a pretty ringing endorsement.
He is a nice guy. There's some things going on there, definitely, with all these sides coming out.
Yeah.
But everyone talks about him like he's a great guy.
Brendan.
Yeah. So I
Well,
don't know.
who's everyone though? Like his friends talk about him like he's a great guy.
But it would no for
How
me,
does
sir,
Bobby Lee talk
It
about
was
him?
it was John Bernthal.
I don't know who that is.
Bernthal. I told you he's the guy from
the guy from The Walking Dead.
and,
Oh right,
da, da,
yeah,
da.
yeah.
And he said
And
he just met
da-da-da.
him. But I think that's like alphas love alphas. I don't know. And Bobby Lee's not an alpha. I think he feels bullied by him. Bobby Lee's crazy, isn't he? I don't know. I'm not defending Schaub. I'm not attacking him. I'm just saying.
I just was making a joke because we know that. You know what? I don't want to be sued,
Joe
so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
wasn't putting out specials 3 years in. Chappelle smokes wherever he wants. Do you think he's someone who just walks around and like pays fines for him? Because he smokes wherever he wants.
But he was
does. I
smoking
know he does.
outside.
No. But my buddy worked at this restaurant in Toronto where all the famous people go, and he was like, Dave
What's it called?
I forget the name. I can text
Is
him
it
right now.
sassafras?
hey,
No, that's not
no
it.
sponsors.
Sponsor.
No, that's not it. And yeah, he was like, every time Dave Chappelle was there, he smoked as many cigarettes as he wanted. It's kind of a dick move. I got to be completely honest.
I
with
mean,
you.
it's against the law.
on the celebrity's part to do it.
Yeah, I really-
I think that.
I don't
Matt,
care about.
it's
Yeah,
against the law.
Yeah, I know it's against the law.
By law.
But it's also just like, I don't know.
You could never go to jail for smoking in a place. I mean, if you think you're gonna burn the place down, but that's a different
Sorry,
story.
go ahead. What? Sorry.
No, it's just I don't know. I love Dave Chappelle. Obviously, I think that's one.
I felt the
thing
same
about
way.
him.
Did you feel the same way?
I mean, I didn't know he did that. So
I've always known he's.
But Doug
done
said
that.
I saw him smoking in a place we're not supposed to be smoking.
I thought he meant like on a patio outside because he saw him from outside. So I think he was like, and that to me is like, good, pay the fine. That's a stupid
But
fucking
smoking
rule,
inside
anyways. You know.
is a problem.
Well, I think so. Those waitresses aren't like necessary. You know what I mean? We made those laws because some waitresses were saying we don't care, and then we're getting cancer. You know, like
But you can smoke on stage.
because it's art.
Yeah, or part of the performance.
I mean, that's interesting. I guess then if you're a waitress at a comedy place, you just have to suck it up.
I don't know. I'm just like I don't know.
No, if you're doing that, you're in theaters.
Like I get it. It's a pure power move, and all the
Flex.
power to
It's
you.
flex.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone like low level in his entourage ever just sees him and is like, you know what? I'm gonna fire one up, and someone comes over like, whoa, what are you doing?
Only Dave smokes. Well, he was on. Sure, he was on a Hot 89. Is that Ebro?
Ebro in the morning?
He was on that,
Yeah, I'd take one. Yeah,
and he had 2 packs of cigarettes in his hands.
yeah, he likes to smoke.
And Doug is chain smoking throughout this whole podcast.
Well, yeah, Doug was like, send your guy out to get some American spirits. Which, by the way, holy
Listen,
fuck.
I mean, if I was on Rogan,
yeah.
I wouldn't. But if I was Doug, I definitely would. Do you know what I mean? If you're friends with him and he says it's okay to smoke, I'm smoking.
Plus,
Of course. They have a fucking room
the
that's
system-
like $100,000 ventilation.
But I wouldn't
system.
go in like green my first time and just spark up a cigarette.
Unless you were
If we were talking about smoking and he said, "Oh, do you want to smoke?" and I'm like, "No, Joe, I don't want to smoke." And he's like, "No, smoke." I'm like, "I'm not going to smoke, Joe." And he's like, "No, you gotta."
It's gotta be the third
I would
time.
be like, "Are you going to smoke with me?" And now we know he would, and boom, there we go, best friends for life, BFFs.
Smoke buddies.
Big shout out to Steve Graham. That's the guy Joe is credited with telling him he should do stand up. He's pretty specific. Said he was going to see him this week. I think he lives in
Phoenix,
Arizona, which is beautiful, eh? I don't know if you watch the fights, but when they cut away, they would show just vistas of Phoenix, and part of it's the Grand Canyon.
I mean, if you like the worst kind of heat, then yeah, I'd say Phoenix is your fucking jam. Kamar, it gets like you could cook an egg on the fucking sidewalk hot in Phoenix.
They talked about Johnny and Amber, but I don't know if we need to talk. Like it's
Hold on.
ridiculous.
Did you see Matt showed? Go ahead, Matt. Tell him it's your story.
No, I just
So she did coke on the stand. Did you see
Are we
this?
sure that's what happened?
I'm pretty fucking positive.
Out of a tissue.
Out of a tissue.
I don't think.
listen.
Why don't you
hold
watch
on.
it? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I will say this. I've never done coke. I've obviously been around a lot of it. It looked to me at first, second, third, fourth, and fifth glance like she definitely
Fair play.
banged out a little bump. Now, when I showed it to Simon, on literally first shot, Simon was like, she definitely did a little bump there.
You can like see her take the second drip
Wait a second.
and that glint in her eye, you know?
Did you tell Simon what he was about to see?
Yes.
So you put in his head that she was doing coke.
But I had no idea she
I
was
wasn't
going to do it
hold
out
on,
of a
don't
Kleenex.
Johnny Cocker me. I wasn't leading the
Matt,
witness.
If the glove
Matt.
don't fit, you must acquit.
It's like 2 particles being at the same place at the same time.
Yeah, if you're watching the experiment, you already fucked it up. Matt, you fucked it up, man.
So, but no, it's blue. The blue dress is blue. The dress is white.
Hear me out.
The
My
dress
point
was
is,
white.
My point is, Kamar, I showed it to the most discerning of eyes, and he,
This guy.
well, and
Thanks.
he, and right away, Simon was like, unequivocally,
No, I really thought she did.
Okay,
And
fine,
Kamar, hear me
fine.
out. Hear me
Say
out.
And
she did.
in the tissue is brilliant.
Hear
she
me
did.
out. If you're gonna like put tissue to your nose, there's no reason for you to like take the glance down. Like it, everything about it.
But just listen.
the way she looked at the judge after.
Listen, let me tell you something. The brilliance of that move to load up a bunch of tissues in your pocket, all one bumps. So you never have to go to the bathroom or like this woman is next level.
Okay.
Well, I was also going to say
Next
that. I was also going to say
level.
that if this had been a normal court case, I would give her the benefit of the doubt. But we are at the point now where I'm like, I'm fully on board with the fact that this chick is Looney Tunes and is totally willing to bump out rails.
That is
mid-court.
That is some pro level shit, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, she's been there, done that.
Normal people stick a key in there and think they're being like low key, no pun intended, or pun intended, whatever. I'm telling you, man, it's brilliant. If you're a cokehead, that is such a brilliant move for you.
Brilliant, like Kanye West is brilliant then, because except that she did do coke, that's fucking insane. Like
she wanted to.
Like, why did I think of that?
She wanted to be at her best while she was giving testimony.
To do a big bump before.
It doesn't work like that.
Oh
man.
yeah, it does. A big.
Oh, you need that mid testimony pick me up.
Pick me back up. But that's if she did that, that's insane. She'd be better off to drop a brooch.
No,
she's insane,
dude,
and she should be guilty.
This is the moment where you should pull it up on screen and we slow motion it, because like it is so obvious.
We'll do that for the post show.
This guy didn't even think that the Chris Rock slap was real. Like,
it's true. Yeah,
I've heard the best theory now.
Oh, here we go.
Please enlighten me.
Will Smith thought it would go over good.
What?
He just thought it'd be funny, like hilarious at first. And then all of a sudden realize, oh fuck,
I hit him too hard.
I fucked up. The whole thing. What the fuck was I thinking? And doubled down, and that's when he starts screaming.
No, that's a cop.
No, I don't think that's true.
We don't.
I don't know why that makes you feel better somehow.
I was like,
another theory.
Terrible.
It's the best explanation I've heard.
Okay, I'm not gonna get caught up in the reeds with you again, man. No, I mean, you may be right, Kamar. I used to think that they went to the moon on the first shot. So what the fuck do I know?
You murdered me in a debate over the topic. What do you know?
Well, he didn't murder you. You filibustered, and then Johnny Cochran did.
If you had been a better debater, you might have fucking pulled that off. You might have even convinced me at the time, and I wouldn't have wasted another 6 to 8 months thinking it was real.
That moon debate, which is still on the Patreon, am I not correct?
I don't think anything leaves the Patreon.
Yeah, check the Patreon for the moon debate. That's our first word.
Kamar might have said the N word, or you might have said the N word, and then
it's Patreon. It's all
yanked.
good. Well, they would have.
You would never say the N word. You're part of the tribe.
I don't think I ever have.
The funniest thing I got out of this was they talked about Sean Rouse and the tsunami bit, and I urge anyone will watch that too. It's hilarious because the guy has a total scab like all over his head.
Are you talking about Elon when he dated Amber Heard?
No, Doug was talking about Sean Rouse, a comic who passed away, who had like bad arthritis or something, rheumatoid maybe, but was a total wasteoid. He pissed on the drunkest guy, and he had jokes about falling down because he fell down so much, and he had to explain the bruises on his head. It's a funny bit, and he was talking about they were in the club, and he was about to start biting people. And the bouncer came up to him and was like, "You could do this the easy way or the hard way." Yeah. And the guy was so fucked. He's like, "Hey, all things being equal, let's try the hard way." Which I love that. That's what keeps that's love. You know what I mean? If you give me the option, I'm going to do it.
Have you been aggressively thrown out of a bar?
I've been carried.
No, I wasn't asking you. We know the answer from you.
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, probably because there was a fight that I was.
Oh yeah, you hung out with terrible people
or something.
Right. Yeah, you.
But I don't think there was a time where I like made so much of a scene myself where I got.
So you never got like dragged out by the neck by a bouncer from a bar?
No, I mean they have videotape of me on like the counter at Kettleman's in a rage.
What?
But like,
why don't we have that video?
They have it in their files, man.
Oh my god, we got to get
Canada Day, 1990, whatever. They didn't have any bacon left when I got there. Oh, dude.
And you had a big Jew fro at the time, obviously?
Oh, yeah, obviously.
There has to be a freedom of information.
I went crazy.
Recovery Act for that.
Oh, yeah.
There is video of me. At one point, I calmed down enough that I got them to get me a pen and paper because I wanted to write a note to
the owner.
And my note was, "No bagels and no bacon make Simon something something over and over and over again."
Such an artsy drunk, eh? Like I'm going to do my.
I'm going to do a Kubrick.
My Shining. My Shining.
It was The Simpsons, but whatever.
Well, it's
Do you
Kubrick.
think when you
I know, but it's from No Homer. It's
Yeah,
the one where
okay,
and
sure.
it's
which is from?
no beer and no whatever make Homer something something. He actually writes something something.
Okay,
Did you know The Shining existed when you saw Homer do it?
Well, that's what makes it funny, Kumar.
Exactly. Okay. It's the Kubrick. It's the Kubrick. I was once.
The joke is the something something.
Yeah.
That's The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to explain this to you. It's your job.
No, I was just asking if it was before, because The Simpsons might have been before the internet. And
What do you mean
seen The
might have
Shining
been?
before
But
the
it
internet.
wasn't before The Shining.
No, correct.
Actually, no. I guess technically the internet came around in like.
No, it wasn't internet. Oh no, it was on Tracy Ullman. That's what it was.
No, but even then, I was saying the internet came around way before we think because it's just connecting two computers.
no. But when did it become popular enough that people were using it? You know.
I would say 99.
I was taking a piss once in a bar and against the wall, and there was a spider on it. So I just turned and pissed on the spider. You know what I mean? And as I'm doing that, the doorman comes in the room and goes, "What the fuck?" And punches me in the head and like drives me like, holding my pants and my neck, like, "Hey, my bag!" And out the door.
Yeah, that's.
Oh my
that makes
God.
sense.
Yeah.
All because you tried to piss on a spider.
Oh, I pissed on the spider,
Oh,
but
because you pissed
It
on the
wasn't
spider.
there anymore, so it just looked like I was pissing on the wall. But I was like, I'm trying to clean the place up.
I mean, it's kind of mean that you pissed on the spider. now
Yeah,
that
spiders
I
eat
think
the
about
smaller
it.
bugs. It was stupid.
One night I went into the Babylon bathroom and all the urinals were either out of order or taken. So I go into the stall, and you always left the door open if you were just pissing because it's Babylon. It's a shithole. It's like the bathroom train spotting. But Ian Fennell went into the stall next to me. I know because he was like, "Hey, Floyd," and he started pissing over the partition.
What?
Yeah.
On purpose?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And hitting you?
No. He was pissing all because he knew I cleaned the place, so he just started pissing all over the wall, over the
and
partition.
Oh,
He-
not
but-
at you.
Was he
Oh,
sober?
over at me, but like hitting the wall. No, he was hammered,
Exactly.
obviously.
Which is apropos of a lot of these stories they talked about. It's weird about Jimmy and Adam Carolla. Doug had just done Adam Carolla, and then they're talking about Kimmel, and they sort of like held back and said, "Look, I don't care what he says. That man's a beautiful person. I love him."
What are you talking? I don't.
The
what,
Man
what?
Show. I guess there was a falling out between Corolla and Kimmel.
I don't know if there's a falling out, but they are diametrically opposed on what they believe in and stand for. Right? Or Jimmy Kimmel's putting on an act. Like,
No, you're right. There
Corolla's
must have been
right-wing,
a split at some point.
Corolla's right wing, whatever that means, and Jimmy's left wing, whatever that means. And I don't know if they're still friends. I think they are, which would be very interesting.
Is
But
Corolla right wing? Like what is? I don't listen to him. I don't know. I thought he was just like a normal dude.
it's the problem with he definitely likes Trump, and maybe it's just whistleblowing for a side. I don't know.
That's a good lesson for young people, though.
Freedom of speech.
I think when you're young, you think like, "Oh, these are my like dudes, and they're always going to be my best friends." But like, once you hit your 30s, late 30s, you really notice like a split, especially when it comes to like.
At a certain point, you've made a decision.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not that way. I still hang out with a lot of people that believe all sorts of wild shit on both sides of the.
Throughout the episode,
Well, you're sitting with one, so
Precisely every week.
and throughout the episode, Doug, who usually doesn't seem like he cares, was going like, I asked you, like, where do I have to go? When's the show? Like, let me know what's going on. And Joe keeps going, it doesn't matter. You're here. Like, it's happening. Dory. And at the very end, he discovers that he had been sending it to the wrong phone.
Yeah.
And that he had replied. And he just didn't see the reply. I was like, but I just want to be right. Like, it was a cutesy moment. And I like I said off the top, Joe loves Doug so much.
yeah.
Like, so much. And he just loves being with him. And Doug doesn't feel worthy. He's just got that thing. Like David Tell has the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I'll say though, I personally noticed that in the last decade, Doug Stanhope has lost a step.
Whoa.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It probably sounds that way. I'm still a huge fan. I think he's one of the best ever.
He might have to quit drinking to have his opus.
I mean, listen, that's probably.
Interesting.
I will say this: the reason I respect Doug the most is because Doug truly doesn't give a fuck. Like, if you told Doug, like, you got to stop drinking and smoking because it's like
He
he's
wants
like,
to stop smoking.
No, but I don't think he does. I truly
does.
think Doug is like, I'm gonna go out on my own terms, and I don't give. Like, again, you've heard the story about his mom dying, where he like shot her up with heroin because that's what she wanted. You know what I mean? Like he came up around. I don't know. I feel like Doug does not give a shit, and he's just like, I am what I am, and I'm gonna be.
And Doug now has a guardian
A
angel
true artist.
named Joe Rogan, who will have life support systems, but just needs him to be close to make sure he can monitor him.
Why? How far is Bisbee from Austin?
Oh,
Really
it's-
far?
Well, I mean, are we talking drive?
I don't even. Where is Bisbee? Las Vegas?
It feels like it'd
Arizona.
be 18-hour drive. 18-hour drive, maybe. I don't know. I do not know.
So that's like a 2-hour private plane ride. Like, it's nothing.
Private planes are not cheap, Simon.
And
Joe owns a plane. Matt.
and Doug doesn't have
Does he?
I don't know. I'm just assuming that he does. It'd
Doug,
be crazy if
Doug
he
does
didn't.
he have to sell his place? The people can just run it, and he can get a nice condo.
I'm gonna look that up, Matt.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
Well, no,
Matt.
I'm interested. Oh, I have no power in my phone. Do we
You're
have
not
a
gonna look up-
charger somewhere?
Yeah, we do. You stole Kamar's, and he stole it back.
Oh, I see.
Here, give me your phone. I'll plug it in.
Thanks, man.
Life just eats life. You've already been there. That's what Doug kept saying, and I feel that it's just such a common sort of idea or premise. You come back trying to remember what you experienced, and it's the weirdest thing, man. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, the story about Doug and the DMT is exactly why I want to do DMT in a clinic.
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to have to worry. I don't want to have that fear of like, oh my God, Joe saw a guy who almost didn't come back, you know?
There's someone in Ottawa who's doing ayahuasca.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, none of this stuff is that far. In Montreal, they have mushroom clinics and all sorts of things happening. So,
But you feel like you've done your mushrooms and you'll never do them again?
I don't know if I'll ever do like a heroic dose type mushroom trip again. I just realized the other day, it's so funny because I was thinking about brewing mushroom tea, and we used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
We would all just throw our grams into the mushroom tea.
I did it last week.
And then I was thinking about a night that we did mushrooms and how we all threw our mushrooms in and then somebody else brewed the tea. And I had like the craziest trip of my whole life. And it was these like older guys who made the tea. And I'm beginning to think that they put a lot more mushrooms in that tea than I thought.
I find when you brew it, you can taste it almost.
Well, we also would eat the
Well,
mushrooms
you
at
could
the
never
end.
taste it. Oh, would you?
Yeah.
All mushy?
Because, yeah,
God.
you'd try and get... They were much easier to eat. You could just kind of almost swallow them down,
They're
you know
soft,
what I mean?
I guess, already. Yeah.
No, I did enough to like be like almost a little more than a microdose, where just everything felt great.
Oh, you know what? It's been a long time since I've done a microdose of mushrooms, so maybe I'll go to
And
Sherman's
it probably only lasts like 3 hours.
I microdose every day.
every day.
Usually, yeah.
Do you
Is
guys?
it making you happier?
You definitely feel better for sure,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's a mood booster. Like they talked about, Elon said he knows more people who benefit from psychedelics than RRIs or whatever it is.
You know what? Fuck Elon.
Drugs, yeah, of
I don't
course.
fucking care what that
Hey,
fucking guy has to
Doug
say.
doesn't like Elon.
Okay, well, because Doug has his eyes open.
Yeah, bros before hoes.
That was an interesting part. Do you have that? What he calls out Joe
Like,
for being like
Joe
what-
has-
like
that-
what? At what point do we? That was a very interesting part.
At what point? What is it?
Well, he says to Joe, at what point do you feel like your audience is so big that you do have some sort of
Yeah, gotcha. And this
because he was like Alex Jones is a good example of like
He doesn't. I don't think he likes Alex Jones.
I don't think he does either.
this backing of Elon Musk. Like it really feels like Joe is throwing his support behind
100%.
Elon Musk.
But he triple tracked himself when he was like, Elon can shut down all the cars in Ukraine. That's a little weird.
Yeah, but
And-
any car maker can do that. So that's not.
And the buttons on the Tesla are lame.
The difference is,
And the buttons on the
listen,
Tesla are
think
lame.
about what Elon is doing, man. Like the satellites, it really feels like he's like rounding out this plan, you know, making sure all areas of living are covered.
And he's the person I trust.
Travel, driving, fucking satellites controlling the chip in your neck or your internet provider or whatever the fuck. Like, this guy just slowly, under the guise of being like a humanitarian. I don't know whatever made him a humanitarian. Why? Because he decided to do the Tesla. He decided to buy a company that already existed. Like,
I think it's just like Trump.
he did all of this to make money, first of all.
And then he's taking that money to do other better things. And
Other better
like-
things
like
for
what?
Elon and the fucking aliens
would you
that
rather
are
Bill
coming.
Gates do it?
I would rather none of them do
Well,
it.
someone
But
has to do it.
do we? Is this another the market will fix itself?
You think we should abolish all wealth? And
No.
so we can't. What you're asking for, we cannot do. So, like, who else would be better?
But again,
honest
I
question.
got to go back to it. Like,
Joe.
you just said like he's using his money to make things better. Like what? Twitter?
No,
Yeah.
Honestly, $45 billion to buy Twitter. He could have made
Space.
He could have made the world better in a million different ways with $45 billion. And I'm not even talking about the solving hunger thing. Like the government has. I see politicians tweeting like Elon could have solved hunger when the UN gave him a plan but didn't. Like, motherfucker, you guys run the government. You could solve world hunger if
Yeah,
you wanted.
and
And maybe Twitter should have fucking just been allowed to crash and burn. Maybe that was the natural fucking progression of things, you know? Speaking of not sticking your thumb into the pie.
Well, no, but I mean that's also capitalism, right? Like if there's a viable business there, but it's failing, someone can come in and save that business. It's happened a million times.
Will that change?
It has, and sometimes things just die.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
Sometimes things just go away.
yeah, but again, like Blockbuster is a perfect example. Blockbuster could have bought Netflix,
Well,
and
Netflix
they said,
is
"Fuck."
dead anyways.
Oh, we don't
It
know
would have
that.
given them an
we'll get into that in
extra.
the post,
It would
Joe.
have given them an extra $1 billion and an extra 20 years.
Well, we spoke about Netflix last week. Like
10
to say
years.
they're gonna die if they come out with enough Ozark type shit, they're not gonna
I
go
don't think they
anywhere.
have time to make it because they're putting out garbage. But I'll
And
get
they're
to it.
so in debt.
I'll get to the post, Joe. Unless you like it. Doug was talking about when he was 30, his girlfriend went through his black book and he just happened to have Dave Chappelle's number in it. And she called him to come to his birthday party.
And he did.
It's like, hey, it's your good friend Dave. He's like, I don't know him. But he showed up.
Yeah.
Like if you got a hold of his number, he'd probably show up to your birthday party.
Probably not.
Oh, he's inviting me if you get through the number.
I mean, they're wrong though. Like they had it out whether Dave was big when they were young. Dave was in a Mel Brooks movie when he was like 19, which was huge back then. That was fucking like
He's been a star forever. And we'll get into the last episode. 1960, spaghetti on the head is the first meme, I think. If you think about it, it was just a picture that always kept going like, oh, Mondays.
What about those guys sitting on the beam, eating their, on top of while they're building the skyscrapers in Manhattan?
That's a meme, yeah. Yeah, that is a meme. And
think about the person who had to take that picture.
Have you seen the photo of the guy that
I
took
have,
that picture?
yeah. It's
so have I.
insane.
where he's standing?
Yeah, he's just got his feet like on both sides of the.
You know, they used to hire, I don't know if they, I'm sure it was Native Americans
mostly
too, but
Native Americans.
Native Canadians for sure,
Yeah.
to go down because they were so good at dealing with heights for some reason. And they were so calm up on the beams because they didn't have any like fucking riggings back then.
I'm going to tell you, Simon, when I lived in New York, watching people, because there's scaffolding all over New York, right? Just because whatever, construction, renovation, none of those guys are hooked up to the building.
Well,
Like
that's just
the guys that put up and take down the scaffolding, I'd say 50% of them are never hooked up to anything. They're just fucking doing it like it's Thailand.
unless those guys own that business, like what the fuck? Why would you not make sure you're safe?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
One point, they talk about Wayfair, and Joe gets really
Really defensive.
I did not tell you.
I
that.
know.
did
I was
not
thinking.
tell you
I
that.
was like,
think
Joe,
Jay was
you
like,
definitely
I
shared
I
that.
think
Yeah.
you did, or some.
No, but I
something
don't
to
think
that
Joe
effect.
believed it necessarily.
No.
Like he was just talking about a conspiracy theory that was out there.
Unless it was totally what you don't think, and just drunk. He's like, no, I did do that, but I think it was seriously like trying to distance himself.
Like
from
I can tell
that
you,
theory.
I don't think I ever believed that. Like I just didn't ever believe they were selling kids through fucking Wayfair under the names of pillows.
Yeah.
That was not like a conspiracy I bought into and was like, yes, I'm gonna fucking run with that and die on that hill, you know?
Then they danced around the moon landing, which I find much better if it's a confirmed conspiracy. We know you know what I mean. Maybe it did, maybe it happened. I'm not.
And just to be clear, I'm not sure that they didn't then go to the moon in the 80s or whatever. You know what I mean?
Just the OG story is not.
Oh yeah, and when you look back too, and you realize that like it was so much about fighting the Russians that the Americans would have done anything to prove their supremacy. By proving supremacy on the moon, they made themselves into like, well, that and dropping a nuclear bomb. The only country to ever do that, by the way. Lots of people have nukes. The only one to ever have used it is the United States. But they secure themselves as the superpower, and then the US dollar becomes currency and blah, 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 and everything that follows from there. If that doesn't happen, like it seems inconsequential, but it wasn't at all. And it had nothing to do with science. And it like...
Unless there is no moon.
Well, that's a whole different
Can I say
question.
this, though? Can I say this, though? Listen, apart from physically landing on the moon, it's not that far-fetched. Like, listen, all you need to do is shoot a rocket at the right fucking trajectory. Just hear me out.
Okay.
And it will slingshot around the moon, and you will come back. And
The physics of that are probably right, Matt.
Why are you laughing at
Go
that?
do a little bit of research into the Van Allen belt.
I understand.
It is not simple at all.
I don't believe
the
any of it.
radiation is the hugest problem, not addressed at
Or
all.
is it? Doesn't
They were
even
up
exist.
there.
All I said was the physics of shooting the fucking thing up there. Again, as far as landing on the moon itself after that point in the 60s.
Sure, that's not the battle, though, is what I'm telling you.
well.
The battle was getting through all that radiation. And you show me the rocket to do that, like that has the necessary fucking... I don't even think they had that part right.
I mean, again, we're fucking dummies. We're talking about the Van Allen belt like we really know about it. I don't know jack shit about the Van Allen belt. Do you?
I know enough to know that it's fucking toxic.
Have you
I
ever,
mean, Kamar thinks the Earth is an apple
have you ever
core.
looked-
Yeah, he keeps arguing like the no moon. That doesn't help the
have,
conversation.
have you ever looked at the sun?
Yes.
I look directly into it for 5 minutes every day. Yes.
No. Well,
The first thing I do when I wake up.
No, you could
I
not-
go, hello, son.
I've looked at the sun, Kamar. What?
like through sunglasses,
Sure.
it looks about the same size as the moon. What you can see, the actual solid thing. Yes or no?
I mean, no, it looks bigger than the moon, but not so much bigger
Yeah,
that.
and it should be
but
so
it's-
much
But
bigger.
it's so
Why
much
should
farther
it be so
away.
much bigger?
Because
So
the
much
sun is
further
so
away.
much bigger than the moon.
Yes, I realize
when
that.
you do the comparison.
But hold on. The moon is right fucking there.
I mean, it's not right there, but it's
Compared
there.
to the sun, it's right fucking
compared
there.
to
When
the
you look at the
sun.
sun, it feels like it's right there.
That's because it's gigantic.
It's gigantic
exists,
and
it
it's
is.
really far away.
If it exists, it is. You're hilarious.
What do you think the sun is? You just think that's all just
No, he
like
thinks
a-
where it's the firmament, so it's all
movie?
just a
What I
projection.
heard
yeah.
Well, it would be an amazing IMAX screen. That's how they do it, Matt.
Yeah,
That's
it would
how
be.
they do it, Matt.
Well, it is. If you go to see an IMAX movie, the best place to see that is in one of those domes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We live in a giant IMAX, according to Kamar.
Unless the reflection off the sun on the moon is just like the nose of the moon, and the moon is so much bigger, and that's why sometimes it looks bigger.
The nose of the moon? What does that mean?
Half the circle. Like
So what's an
you can
eclipse?
imagine- Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean exactly?
What is an eclipse?
It's
I
when
don't-
they
I
end
don't
up
know.
at the same place at the
Yeah,
same
but that's
time.
what I'm
I'm not a
saying. It's,
scientist.
it's the moon going in front of the sun.
The one I just realized I can't argue is the fact that you'll see someplace is dark when it's light.
Say that again.
He's having arguments in his head that we
How-
haven't even brought up
How
yet.
would you have different time zones on a flat plane? Like the light would have to be-
Right. Okay, so explain that one.
I can't.
Okay.
I just realized I'm in a conundrum. Abort. But
Well,
no,
wait, why? If it's a flat plane, you just project the light over wherever.
Well, but you'd always have like a segment of light.
You'd
right?
have to, or why would you do that? Why would you not just have everyone in the same time zone?
I don't know. Come on.
that-
I'm not smart enough to know anything about time
You know,
zones.
what would be easiest? There's a workaround because it's round.
We were talking about fucking.
Moon landings, conspiracy
Space.
theories. They would. Doug's at one point says, "I'm going to have to do an hour tonight to impress you," which is just the saddest statement because like Joe looks up to Doug as a comedian.
I know, it's like,
Yeah.
Doug, you're 55 years old.
And it's just like, it bums me
You've
out.
made
No,
it.
that's the only part of this podcast where you were like, it just got irksome, you know?
No, I'm telling you, this was sad.
Because Doug is like one of the best.
No, but I know Doug on his own podcast, and this is the gravitas is too much for him, and it makes me uncomfortable listening to it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, he doesn't like the big stage. It's like he said though, he's comfortable. Like I even heard Doug a couple years ago say he's like, I won't do like a Thursday or a Friday at a comedy club anymore. He's like, those aren't my people, and they don't want to hear like a weird rape joke from some guy they've never heard of. So he's like, I do Tuesdays with my people because they know what they're going to get, and I'm comfortable. Like he's just in his own lane, and I think he's very comfortable with that. And why not? Like,
and again, if you're a comedian and you can make it with your own fans,
yeah,
there's no stress. Like all the anxiety is gone. You can just live your best life. You know?
And you're
his
uncancelable.
self-esteem is in the negatives, integers.
Anyways,
Did you just follow up a sentence with the word integers?
I did.
it's his word of the week.
That's what we started this off with. That I'm not sure it was a self-esteem or Joe can't read them. It's a self-esteem.
There's a little bit of both.
Fair enough.
Joe overcompensates where he should be undercompensating, and
Doug mentioned a name Clive, and Joe's like, "Shut up!" And I think he's Mr. Get Everything at the Comedy Store. I was like, "Who's that guy, Clive?" He gets and Joe cut it.
who gets what at the Comedy Store?
Joe would get drugs or something. Somebody gets something for somebody at the Comedy Store.
Gotcha.
And then
Clive, the Brit, the drug-selling
we
Brit
do that,
from the Comedy Store.
Doug starts trashing people, and where's the difference in like talking shit and misinformation? Like, it's so hard to draw. Like, unless you have to qualify everything with, I don't know what I'm talking about, and then say something.
It's probably a good way to do it.
Unless you know, and then you say, I know what I'm talking about, then everyone has to lean in extra hard.
You know which one I like, Kamar? I like starting with, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on television.
It's a good jump-off point.
Because then you just know that whatever I'm going to say, don't take too seriously, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, what are we talking about, though? Like, Alex Jones puts himself out there like everything is fact and that he has evidence to... You okay, Kamar?
That's that strong weed.
That's that strong
Tyson.
weed. That's that Mike
And
Tyson.
then what's the difference between that and, let's say, like a Bigfoot podcast where people are claiming that Bigfoot exists, even though you don't think it does? I'm not being rude. I'm giving you an example.
But as far as we know, that's not harmful to society. So
that's where we're going to draw the line.
I can at least draw the line there and say I don't believe that. Like, even if you convinced 5 million people that Bigfoot exists, I don't think they're going to storm the Capitol, or I don't think there's going to be like, you know what I mean? I don't think they're going to shoot up a fucking pizza place because they think their kids being raped. Like, I don't. My question is just. And again, Joe still holds this like Alex Jones is right most of the time line, which I don't really buy into.
No,
well, what he should say is
he's wrong.
Alex has been right about a lot of things, because then it doesn't imply that he also isn't wrong about a lot of things.
Even then, the delivery system sucks.
It's a Trump situation.
Mm-hmm.
He might have good intentions, but the delivery is flawed.
And he lives a tumultuous life as well, which cannot help.
Well, again,
decision making and just
if you have people who are like believing in you and following on your words, you have a responsibility, like Joe has now. You know what I mean? Look,
I mean, hold on. Alex Jones at this point has painted himself in a corner, and he already had a drinking problem, and now he's really fucked. And I imagine that it's only going to get or gotten worse. You know what I mean? And again, I feel for him in the sense that like it's terrible that he had a problem and now he's going through all this, but
or maybe this is like exactly what Alex needs, because he never would have stopped on his own.
Yeah,
he had to have it taken away.
Like Doug got caught and cheating. Bingo got brain cancer. Like that didn't make him stop drinking, but that made him definitely take a step back. And maybe Alex is in the process of taking a step back right now.
I also think money, listen, money at the end of the day is the root of all evil. And like, I'm sure he was pulling in a ton of bread.
Well, you'll know.
Do you really believe that though? Like
Yes. He used to say on the show, it's $10 million a month just to run this thing.
For Alex, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm telling, listen, InfoWars at its peak was taking in a fucking ton of bread. So like, And again, we've
Oh
seen.
yeah, he told Eddie he'd charter him the boat to go to Alaska. That wasn't that long ago. He kept saying, "I'm rich. I'm rich."
He's getting sued by
Well, now he's fucked. But
bankruptcy.
Yeah, I
my
know.
point.
Messy.
But my point was simply like, for a while, he was like a pig in shit. He was, and we've seen from like people like Tim Pool, you start leaning into it more, and like the Sandy Hook thing was clearly him leaning into it too far. I mean, I don't know.
Listen,
So to answer your question,
I
Kamar,
don't
what
know
is the
what
difference?
happened there.
Kamar,
He just believed it.
What is the difference between misinformation and satire? I
the
don't
line
know.
is very thin.
Well,
but
I'll
isn't
tell
that
you.
what comedy is?
Because Doug doesn't like Alex Jones, and he said Marilyn Manson is the most beautiful person.
And if you believe that documentary at all, it doesn't really come across that way,
Yeah, but again, after this Amber Heard thing, like now we're in a weird conundrum
Listen.
where we went from we can't trust any men to like, well, hold on now, maybe women are out here shitting in
Higgs
bed.
boson collider,
Okay.
because that is when I'm with you. Everything changed, and we end up with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in court. It's just the latest in a series of unfortunate events. I think the title is.
Because think about it too. If someone had told you Johnny Depp's in a trial right now with his ex-wife, there's potentially a video that he bumped a rail out in court, you'd be like, oh yeah, Johnny. But yeah, it's the opposite.
If anybody did a rail in court, Matt, I don't care who it is.
It was Johnny Depp.
No, I'm just that would be insane. The idea of that
have it in a ring.
is so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You are in a place where they could send you to jail
She's
right there
crazy.
for doing
If
that.
What's true is true. She's crazy. She's crazy.
But this is what I'm saying. She's
a menace to society, I dare say.
she is a menace. Dude, everything I've seen in this, she is a menace to society.
Wow.
She's a fucking maniac.
Wow.
So are we done with this one?
A menace to society.
Doug's now fucked. He brought up Marilyn Manson after repeating the End of the World podcast story.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing, like in the back, like, which we know is a tell of someone's getting inebriated.
You know
They
what's
start repeating stuff.
You know what's interesting though, and it's kind of behind the curtain that I'd never thought about, was when I was listening and watching that podcast, because I've seen it a few times. There's times where like Joe, where people are like coming and going, and I'd never thought there's multiple rooms. Like Joe mentions that he had to fuck off to go play in the main room or whatever the room was, and that he missed Bill Burr and Sarah Tiana going at it because he was like, I feel like I could have, and which he couldn't have. Bill Burr was on a fucking mission that night.
Yeah, Sarah Tiana picked the absolute worst thing to say to the worst guy.
Yeah.
Like, she couldn't have played a poorer hand.
But I also don't think Bill Burr's ever been as on as he was that night.
No, that's what I mean. It was like she picked the worst time.
Yeah, you sparred with the black belt with like 6 notches on his belt.
Well, he was like in the perfect storm.
Yeah, while he was in the zone, he'd just won a competition, like he was warmed up.
Anyways.
He leaked that Roseanne has a deal with Fox that he's probably going to write on, and he also like she's crazy out of her tits.
That's what what's his name said.
That's
Doug.
what Doug Stanhope
Doug
said.
said.
Tony said it too, kind of.
In a way, like she's crazy, not like level crazy, or the way that Joe says, well, she has these issues, but apparently she can still kill it if she can. I'll be so happy for her. Her show's a hit. It'll make so many people upset. But if
What'll
it's a
be
hit,
interesting
good.
too, though,
It'll
is
be
if
good.
her show's a hit, but she's impossible to work with, and Fox has to get rid of her.
Then
it's her.
everything's
It's
true.
her.
Well, but what I'm just
And
saying is,
life
you know what I
goes
mean?
on.
Then it's a real tough. I also think Fox though is the type of network where even if she's impossible to work with, they'll be like, we cannot. Like we can't cancel her. We can't stoop
If
to that.
they're
You know what I
getting
mean?
reviews and,
If they're
Oh,
selling
listen, if the
ad-
money's coming in, they
selling
don't give a
ads, that's
fuck.
all.
people
Yeah.
are talking about them, it'll all be worthwhile, I guess.
I mean, I just don't. Do you know anyone that watches cable comedy?
they're old, I think. Old and probably don't have money.
I mean, I guess if I think about it, Parks and Rec, The Office, those were cable comedies. So
Yeah. But those people didn't make money until the end.
thing is,
I guess,
during advertisements. Oh, that's why I wanted to say.
Friends, like those were cable networks.
If
man.
I ever-
$1 million a person.
yeah, but that was
an
different. Back
episode.
then, there was only cable networks.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a choice.
Well, same with The Office. There was you couldn't watch.
I guess
it was
you're
all
right.
cable
Yeah,
networks.
you're
at that
right.
point.
If I ever get to see Doug, I want to tell him that on YouTube they play like games from 1983, football games. And you get that same feel because they have the ads from the 80s.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's still so interesting. Like, what was that? You remember the Chevette?
Yeah.
The cheapest car in the world, but if you didn't have a car, like I guess I could look cool in one of
I'll take
those. It's a car, but it was brand new in the middle of a football game, like pristine, rolling off the. I don't know. They talked about a lot, just looking back, and a lot of reminiscing this episode. That's all I have for it.
Cynthia got me an autographed One Direction. Doug Stanhope autographed a One Direction record because he played Babylon.
The One Direction, the boy band?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's friends with Harry Styles.
Doubt it.
Do you know who Harry Styles is?
Yeah, he's
Yes,
one of the...
come here.
Well, he's like the guy right now.
A lot of guys right now.
A lot of guys right now.
I give it a 2 out of respect for Doug.
I'll give it a 2 out of respect for Doug, but
And I'll give it a 2 out of respect for Doug.
We have an agreement.
it made me uncomfortable, and going for so long and getting so drunk and started being like, ah. But I love Doug, and those stories were funny, and everyone watched the Tsunami bit. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I love Doug. This episode was just a little bit of a train wreck. All right, we're going to pay some bills, and we'll be back.